My name is Antonis Mavropoulos. I'm a chemical engineer and currently I'm the CEO of the company GREENO2 and a member of the United Nations Environmental Programme Environmental Technologies Group. Major architects that for the last 500 years they were trying to reimagine the way we build cities and design them. And if you see in the most notable of their works, green areas and kind of green roofs or even green domes over a city were a dominant component. I think that the concept as we discuss it today is a more refined and tailor-made version of this vision. And it's a vision to work on the urban landscape and make it greener and more sustainable. I think that we have to be very careful on that. There are two different types of functionality. One is the aesthetics. Green roofs really improve the aesthetics of a city, especially if you consider also green walls, which are vertical and much more visible than green roofs. But then there is the environmental aspect. The environmental aspect, again, has two components. The first component is obvious. A green roof reduces substantially the water outcome of any roof. It can be reduced by 65%. It reduces up to 40% the heat that is transferred through the roof to the building, and it reduces substantially the CO2 footprint of the roof and the activities there. However, there is another component that we have to do that. To achieve these functionalities, we have to make sure that green roofs are constructed and operated through their life cycle with proper techniques in a way that the savings in CO2 emissions and NOx emissions are not overweighted by the construction and operation footprint. I think it's something that will come maybe slower than in other European countries. I mean, we are not like Basel, where they have 5 square meters of green roofs per capita. Not even like London, where they have 1.6 square meters. We are much behind. The concept of green roofs in Greece is already in a phase of starting. And there are a lot of steps to be done. One of them is to use standard prototypes for green roofing that will achieve the environmental purpose, rather than going from one concept to another without any standardization and sometimes playing with greenwashing instead of green roofs. I don't think that in Greece it's more difficult than in other countries. Already in some very big new developments like the ones in Ellinikon and others, the concept of green roofs is already elaborated in the architectural design. I think what is the problem in Greece is that we have a rather old building stock. And in old roofs, it's really difficult to make a very good green roof avoiding leaks and problems of stability. So it's the other way around. We need to improve our building stocks so they will be capable to host green roofs. It's not a problem, the green roof per se. It's the stock of buildings we have, especially in the city center of Athens. I think sooner or later it will become a big trend. I also believe that the government and the state should provide some incentives to move to green roofs, as it has been done in other countries. For the time being, the governments in Greece, they subsidize energy savings. So one of the activities that should be subsidized substantially is green roofs. Greece is a small economy, and the intervention of state always creates new business cycles. So if we want a business cycle for real green roofs that will achieve environmental purposes, then the Greek state should somehow put it on the table, provide some incentives, like tax benefits as an example at least, and also work on the prototyping, on making technical specifications, because you know that in many cases people are talking for green roofs, but they are not really green. Sometimes they are gray or brown. And this is even worse, not in green roofs, but in green walls. I mean, we have seen in many cases that green walls They were heavily advertised, and after 1 year, they became a mess, a ruin. I think, first of all, green walls are much more vulnerable than green roofs. To sustain a vertical green wall requires substantial use of energy, of water, and it depends a lot on the kind of plants and vegetation you will choose. If they are not easily adapted to local conditions, they will not survive. If they are not attracting local insects, they will not be long-term sustainable. And to tell you the truth, sometimes some of the very, very sustainable green walls or green roofs are not that beautiful, but they are very well adapted in the local environment. And they concentrate local fauna and flora, thus they become part of the environment. This requires a case-by-case calculation. Consider that to put a green roof, the cost might be anything between 35 euros per square meter up to 100 euros per square meter. So in this range, there are different types of technical specifications, different liners, different isolation techniques, and stuff like this. Now, I believe that if you consider a green roof as part of a total holistic green plan, it is better. But if you consider a green roof the only thing you will do and left all the others the same, it will not work. So a green roof can be very well combined with an architectural design that allows free air flow in the building. So it reduces the need for air cooling or air heating. It can be perfectly combined with an architectural design that provides easy access and reduces in a minimum the use of mechanical stuff. The problem I see is that sometimes green roof is used just as an alibi to keep all the rest as it is and just put a green roof on top. In this way, it will not work. It has to be combined in a much more sustainable design. I'll tell you how I will think for my home, okay? I have a roof which is about 60 square meters. If I do the minimum investment, which is about, let's say, 50 euros for such a small surface, I have to pay about 3,000 euros. Now the question is how I will save them, okay? So I will save them by reducing during the summer the need for air conditioning. I will save during winter by reducing the need for heating. But I will also save by making my roof more sustainable long term if I manage correctly the runoff of water. So I would say that it will not be that difficult to save 100 or 150 euros per year, which means if I spend 3,000, I have to wait for 20 years. But if I redesign my cooling system, if I redesign my heating system, then I can save twice the money and take my money back in 8 or 10 years. That's the case. In general terms, I suggest that green roof is something that you have to consider as soon as you design the building. In this way, it's much more effective and efficient. If you have a building that is old and you just put a green roof, it will improve the efficiency, but it will not have substantial financial benefits. But it will also improve the aesthetics. You know, when you talk about the aesthetics is not something that is easily transformed to money. So if I appreciate the aesthetics, I can give as much money as I want, especially if this is something that improves not only my roof, but the whole area, as it is the case in some very big buildings. I think the most successful paradigm I have seen is in Basel in Switzerland. But I would say also that London and Berlin, they have also a lot of good developments. And in many cases, we have seen green roofs incorporated from the very beginning in huge developments, and then they have a big impact. Now, what is common in all these countries that they have a lot of development in green roofs is two things. First, we are talking about well-established urban centers where the municipalities and the citizens, they are looking to improve the urban life. This is important. Second, we've seen that in cities that there is a certain amount of money available from the municipality and the citizens. It's impossible to see green roofs in a favela, but we can see green roofs in Basel, London, and Berlin. And even if you go to London, most of them, of the green roofs, are in the square mile, where they have like 6 square meters per person. So it's not bad to say that the adoption of green roofs goes together with the income available from citizens, because more affluent citizens, they want better quality of life and they pay for that. I think that if we consider also the lessons from the history of green roofs, in any city, green roofs, they don't just spread up. We start with, let's say, small urban islands with green roofs, and these urban islands, gradually they expand and communicate each other, and finally they create an ecosystem of green roofs. So what we have to do in my country also is to find out where are the right urban islands to start. And I would say the most important case is to find out the areas where urban heat is huge during summer, because one of the big benefits of green roofs is that they can really affect the temperature of the environment during the very hot season. So we are very well aware of urban heating and urban heat islands, and I would say that we have to start from them. And this is the entrance point for countries like Greece. I mean, in Greece there are a lot of municipalities which are really poor. Unless there will be a government intervention, they will not go on. But there are big cities like Athens, like Thessaloniki, where urban heat islands are essential places to start talking, designing, and delivering green roofs. Green roof, if it is designed from the very beginning, it can be really incorporated in the total design. And in this case, I think it will be much more viable on the long term. But if it is just an addition in an existing building, then it's a technical addition that its life cycle is limited. I would say that if we follow up the most strict technical specifications, we can achieve 20 years lifetime. But we have to be careful. In many cases, green roofing is not associated with EPD. EPD is Environmental Performance Declaration. So in some cases, there are products that look like green roof, but they are not. I give you an example. There are products that are advertised as green roofs, but actually they have plastic instead of plants. I always suggest to my clients to look for the environmental performance declaration of any system they buy, because an environmental performance declaration is always certified. And if it is certified, you can trust. And it's not by luck that the latest research on green roofs says that products with good environmental performance declarations, they are the ones that have 90% possibilities to achieve 20 years lifetime. So in this case, the economic benefits and the environmental performance are very. Well, first of all, it's obvious that universities themselves are a very huge field to test green roofs, to redesign them, to create prototypes, and apply them to the university buildings, because the university buildings, they have a huge environmental footprint. So it's the best way to experiment in their own buildings. I think also that there are two more things that the European universities should contribute. First, they should elaborate together all European technical specifications and minimum performance standards for green roofs. We should not allow anyone to say this is a green roof without keeping conformity with these standards. And the second thing that European universities should work together is to put, I would put it in a very rude way, to put out of the market products that they are not green roofs, they are greenwashing. They use the term green just to confuse citizens and consumers. And these guys, they create a big problem, because in many cases they are selling much cheaper than real green products, and then when they put something and after 1 year or two it's problematic, then people is losing trust in the green roofs as they should be. So this is both designing, prototyping, and making uniform standards and avoiding greenwashing. This is two very big challenges for the European universities regarding green roofs. I think one particular aspect is how green roofs can help reducing NOx emissions, which are related to cars and stuff like this. We are in the beginning of a very promising era about that, as we start gathering evidence that green roofs can really create an impact on NOx. But we have to be very frank with people and citizens. To create such an impact, 1 or 2 green roofs is not enough. You have to create an area full of green roofs and maybe green walls as well. And keep in mind that, let's say, a tree can, every year, it absorbs, let's say, 6 kilos of CO2 emissions, okay? And a green roof, a square meter of green roof, it can absorb 2 square meters of 2 CO2 kilos. So a practical thing for someone to consider the relationship is that to see that 3 square meters of a green roof correspond to 1 tree. So in cities where trees are missing, the right thing is to have cities with trees and nature inside. But in case this is not easy to be done, green roofs provide an important improvement in the air quality without substituting trees, but working together with them. I would say to them that green roofs are a substantial element for any redesign of the urban conditions. Especially, we are talking about Mediterranean cities with a lot of heat waves. Green roofs can provide a relief and reduce the most severe heat waves if they are done properly and they cover a substantial area in the city. Second, I would say that consider a careful design of the development of green roofs with other sustainability measures, like improving the traffic conditions, making more parks and greenery areas, and work carefully with architects to make sure 2 things. First, that every new building has a green roof incorporated from the very beginning, and second, put some minimum criteria according which buildings will be equipped with green roofs from the existing ones. And third, I would say that green roof is not only an environmental protection measure, it's also a way to make new business. So I would say if you want to have a lot of green roofs in your city, make sure that you provide incentives and at the same time give some space for the development of local companies to deliver it.